Thanks so much for joining us on today's episode of Techbridge, and it will interest you to know that we are dedicating this episode to Data Protection Day. That is World Data Privacy Day. And of course, when we talk about that, it is talking about how we can begin to stay safe and raising the consciousness of the fact that it all begins with us. I'm Shoifumi Ola today, and I welcome you to Techbridge today.
Somebody said, light up the light of knowledge and the darkness of ignorance will disappear. So when we talk about data and information, it's for your good. My name is Tony Olaguke. You're welcome to Techbridge today.
Okay, yeah, so we said we're talking about the World Data Privacy Day, and we should just emphasize that it's actually on January 28th of every year that day is celebrated. And one of the reasons for that is to raise awareness about the fact that we need to be conscious of our data. We once said on this program that your data is your asset.
Yes, your data is actually your asset, because the data you keep, the data you manage properly will actually add value to you, and the kind of information you give actually determines the kind of things you use it for.
Okay, so on that note, let's go for a quick break. Please stay with us. The program is still Techbridge on Lagos Television. We are talking about World Data Privacy Day. And just a quick background to that, we say that Data Privacy Day is an international holiday that occurs every 20th of January. And it will interest you to know that the purpose of that day is to raise awareness and promote privacy and data protection best practices all over the world. And when we talk about that, it will have a kind of impact on everyone that it is not just about the government. It is not just about pushing the blame. It is actually about taking responsibility.
I remember in some of those discussions about data privacy, it helps in corporate governance and public administration.
Yes.
So when this awareness comes about, is how to manage good data and information and to marry the data with what the government policy will be.
Okay, yeah, so when we talk about that, the day was actually celebrated here in Lagos, and we had experts, stakeholders talking about the fact that we can use data privacy if it is well regulated to enhance good governance.
Actually, because there's a convergence between good data management and good governance.
People like Dr. Titi Akinlade, James Agada, and Tokunbo Smith, the major advocate for data privacy and protection in Nigeria, they were all at this event, and they were reeling out some of the points. I think at a point, Dr. Akinlade was raising the point to the fact that it is true that government needs to regulate, but there should be a limit, there should be a process to what government can do eventually, so that most of this data we are trying to protect would not be given out all in the name of public interest.
And that's actually true, because if you look at what governments do some other time when they are trying to do a kind of data mining, like I've said, the data mining aspect of it, they go out of the constitution, the policy itself. Some other information are actually gotten. For example, your spouse, your children. Now, if you're asking me about my data and the information about myself, why do you need information about my spouse or my relatives?
Well, that is a big question that needs a lot of answers. So let's pick those insights quickly, and we'll just be back after that. Please stay with us. It's still Techbridge talking about World Data Privacy Day. Stay with us.
One of the things we need to establish is a process. Even though the government has overriding public interest to protect, there must be a process for enforcing or using that leverage that they have. We need to set ourselves, or we need to agree that in order for government to come after certain private data, they must go through steps A, B, C. And if there is need to widen the net, first of all, prove that those people you are widening the net to go after have some degree of, maybe not culpability, I'm not a lawyer, but show that there's a relationship or there's a likelihood that those people are also involved. Otherwise, what we are going to end up with is anarchy. That's on the side of the government. Let's talk about the private sector as well, especially here in Nigeria. Yes, GDPR affects those who process the information of EU citizens or EU nationals or EU interests. How about those who have nothing to do with citizens of those nations? How about companies that handle just Nigerian data? We don't have solid data privacy laws yet. How do we ensure good governance and basic respect for the dignity, for the rights of an individual, the right to be forgotten, the right to be left alone exists. It's an innate right. It should be a fundamental human right, whether it is codified or not. How do we ensure that, whether there's a law making us do it or not, how do we ensure that we basically treat each other with dignity? We basically treat each other with respect. That's how to begin to draw a framework for nation building. We've got to lay down some rules of engagement. What are the processes to be taken before the government brings out its overriding public interest stake? What are the norms we should extend, the courtesies we should extend to each other, whether we are government or not? How to ensure that we don't, first of all, blot out the private data of an individual before retracting. I see a lot of retractions in newspapers. The headlines are bold, and then the retractions are hidden in page 39 or something. That really is not how to go. So to get this framework, we need to agree on some rules of engagement.
Now we are talking of data privacy. We are talking about the fact that we have to be respected. Every individual has to have that respect from government. But we can't run away from domino theory. There must be somebody regulating that. There must be government regulating that. When it comes to trust on my data or that agency's data, the data of my corporation, my institution, how do we ensure that nobody hacks it? Even when my data is hacked, how do I ensure that I fight it back legally? So we have issues with one, judiciary. We have to do something about it. Number two, as a people, like I shared with some of my colleagues, do we have what we call nationhood? We have to address it. It's another getting there strategy on this data privacy that we are talking about. It's a very good thing. Globally, everybody is talking about it. We have to accept it. But processes should be in place, right processes. But before we can have all those right processes in place, we must talk to ourselves. Like Lagos State has started doing a lot of advocacy. I always encourage everybody to know that you are a solution provider. I'm also a solution provider. We're all Nigerians, we should be proud of our country, but where the shoe is pinching us, let's address it stoutly. That's very, very key for us. We have to do something about it. All agencies must start. All of us must start to see how best we can, ensure that we are protected data-wise, and if there is a violation, judiciary is there. The lawyers must do something also about it. Anybody who violates should be punished. We should not run away from sanction in this country. It is when we begin to do all of that that we are good to go. Number three, it's a double-edged sword. When it comes to bad guys, we must have a way of, checkmating them. That's very, very important. Regarding data or cyber security, all of that, we must have a way of checkmating bad guys. That's important, and we leave that to government.
When you are talking about governance, you are talking about integrity, accountability, openness, and fairness. If there is no openness, fairness, integrity, and accountability in data, then you can never have good governance. Good governance involves openness. Data privacy involves openness. That is integrity of data. When the integrity is destroyed, there is no going to be good governance. So they are synonymous, because with good governance, with good data privacy on ground, we have good governance. If you don't have good data privacy on ground, we can never have good governance. A lot of false information are flying on social media. Buhari will not say something, they will say Buhari. Saraki will not say something, they will say Saraki. You can see destruction of information. So where there is no good excuse of privacy, whereby you have false privacy on social media, we are not going to get a good governance. Because from everybody, now one thing is that they don't only read social media now, they discuss. Whatever you discuss, it sticks to your head. Whatever you discuss, you can do a lot of things with it. The era of just reading and going has gone. Discussion is what they do now, and with discussion you can convince a lot of people. So if you have fake information on social media and you cannot prove that it is right, you use it, then you have problem. The government will have problem, individual will have problem, so the governance cannot come in. Because governance starts from home. So data privacy and governance, they work together. Good data privacy will produce good governance. And when I say good data privacy, I mean that people's privacy must be kept, must not be open to anybody.
Welcome back from that break. The program is still Techbridge on Lagos Television. And this insert is from David Oluranti. And he said that aside Section 37 of the Nigeria Constitution, that is 1999 Constitution, which provides that the privacy of citizens, their homes, correspondence, telephone conversations, and telegraphic communication is hereby guaranteed and protected. There is currently no comprehensive data privacy or personal information protection law in Nigeria that sets out detailed provisions on the protection of the privacy of individuals and citizens. I think this is still germane. Remember, sometimes last year we were discussing this issue came on.
It will always come up until we have good policy, because where you have poor ethics of data, you can't have good governance. So it will always come up in such a way that there should be a policy that regulates, that guides, because they are out there there are good guys.
Yes.
And there are also bad guys.
Bad guys.
The same information that the good guy make use of.
Yes.
It's the same information that some bad guys make use of.
Yes, if we pick the example of this promo that we see online, there are some people who just post or advertise that buy Nigerian phone numbers. Now, the question is, how were they able to get about these phone numbers? That means we are exposed at some point, probably at the point of registration for one thing or the other. The phone numbers are everywhere. And that probably explains the reason why we get some messages that we didn't even solicit for, inviting us for programs, telling us about a particular product. It's a big issue that we still...
It's a very big issue. You go to some functions and they will write the data, the name, the phone number.
Yes.
And you wonder, what do they use those phone numbers for?
Yeah.
Not only on the phone number itself. Look at the sensor. Today, do we have good sensor? That's part of data privacy. We need to have accurate information, not just speculations.
Okay, so on that note, I think we should pick the comment from James Agada from that same event as well, talking about the fact that we are now in a surveillance nation and we should just begin to pay attention to that. Let's pick that. It's still Techbridge on Lagos Television. Please stay with us.
We are faced with a big challenge, both in technology and in regulation, to find that clean balance that will ensure that the good guys have the tools and the information they need to make good decisions and to provide good services to the public. And at the same time, trying to stop the bad guys from using the same information and the same tools and doing the wrong things. Modern economies are built on surveillance. And it is the surveillance of customer behavior, knowing what you're doing, and surveillance, and then using that information to predict what you will do or to convince you to do something else. Google is rich and very big, but what does Google sell? Google sells eyeballs, that you're going to see a certain advert. How does it know you would like to see the certain advert? Because it knows all the other things you've been doing. So, sometimes it's very airy in the sense that you read a news article about a Mercedes-Benz car. And every other time you get anywhere on the web, there's an advert for a Mercedes-Benz car. Why? So every modern state is a surveillance state. We are just starting. We just consider the Chinese, consider the US. And that surveillance gets more and more as you digitize more and more of our processes. This is just a fact of life as it is. Because of social media, large-scale brainwashing is now possible. It is no longer about whether I take your information that is private. It's actually about analyzing some of that your information that is supposed to be private and then using it against you. And this cannot be done automatically.
The first thing we need to do, which we are doing, is that we want to create awareness. When there is no awareness, there is nothing you can do. Whether you bring all the data together or not, individual has to protect their data. Individual has a lot of responsibility. So we start from individual. And that is why all this social media, we want a situation whereby government should have a regulatory body. If there is no regulatory body, there is nothing we can do. We need a regulatory body who will control. We need information communication officers, whereby behind all ministries, just like you have PR in ministry, you have IT people in ministry, we need information commissioner officer. These people will be there to be able to monitor the activities of people within their organization and outside their organization. And that is the only way we can now sit down and say, what else do we do? But awareness is the number one. The area whereby we have NCC, NIMC law, pockets here and there, it can work. Let us come together, and then they should look for organizations. Private organizations should be involved. Government cannot do it alone. Without private organization, we get a lot of information which they cannot get, and we will pass it to them. When we pass this information, they should be able to use this information, not just putting them on files and put them in archive.
Well, thanks so much for staying with us. We should say that, and we believe that you've learned something about data privacy today.
It's a big market, and it's a good thing that government should regulate. It's not just legal framework. It's something that happens with individuals, with families, with organizations, and with the country.
And of course, we should take the conversation beyond a day like this that says that we celebrate World Data Privacy Day. It should be a daily thing. We should begin to have the consciousness that whatever we post, whatever we tweet, whatever we Instagram, so to say, it is part of our lives, and it goes beyond today because we are creating database for cloud. Remember recently, some people started 10-year challenge, and somebody raised a kind of issue that it is actually a way to provide enough facial recognition database for FBI and CIA. Don't know how true that is, but the fact is that every picture we've uploaded during that time, 10-year challenge, is already somewhere in the cloud.
It's already somewhere, and somebody somewhere is keeping it. So that, I mean, if you have made use of bad data and images, over time people will keep it and they will use it against you.
Let it pop up. All right, I think we're going to drop the curtain on today's episode. Many thanks for joining us. Remember that you can connect with us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, we are Techbridge LTV. And of course, on YouTube, we are Techbridge LTV as well. You can watch this episode and all other previous episodes on that same channel. I'm Shoyifumi Olatide. Remember that your data is your asset. Continue to protect it.
Remember, data and information is very important in everything you do in decision making. So keep on using good data and have privacy skills with you. My name is Toyin Alobujo, signing out. Bye.
All right, bye.